Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about the second in my series of how to transform your life starting today. The first one I talked about negative emotions, and it's more than just being a positive Polly. There's a whole list of negative emotions that you need to find out which blocks are your blocks. And the second thing that I would like to talk about today is forgiveness. Forgiveness was a huge block for me. I was holding on to a lot of bitterness, a lot of resentment, and a lot of anger. And I think we all do this. And some of it was on things that I know I did nothing wrong, but I had to learn to forgive the other person. I had to learn that forgiveness is not something you do for them. It's not something you do that says, it's okay what you did to me. It's saying I love myself enough to still try and find some connection to you and to love you. I love myself enough to love you. And you don't have to accept what they did, what they said. You don't have to agree with it. You don't even have to, it could be the worst thing in the world, but you have to love them enough to let them go. Not out of your life, but to let go of the negative emotions. And I've had to literally forgive people that have done really bad things to my loved ones and things of that nature that really not good. And I was holding on to a lot of anger. When you cannot forgive, you think you've worked through these emotions, but it just holds on to anger and rage and resentment. And you're like a ticking time bomb. So I had to work through forgiveness. Well, how do you do that? How do you do that? When there is so much rage and hatred and hurt feelings and, how do you forgive someone? Well, in the first video in this series, I talked about how when I would have a negative emotion, I would write down, or try and think of, at first I started thinking of 3 positive things about that person or about that place. I hate my job. Well, I'm going to think of 3 things that I like about my job. I hate that person. I'm going to think of 3 things that I like about that person, or I can say nice. I don't really hate anyone, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of the same for forgiveness. Make a list, and this is how I started, because for me, forgiving some of these people was a very daunting task. So I made a list of all the amazing things in my life. I started a gratitude journal, even though I didn't know that's what I was doing. And I wrote at the top the people that I was so grateful, my children, my husband, and I would come up with beautiful things why I was grateful for them, why they brought me so much love and joy and happiness into my life. And I just started making lists, and that came easy. That came like the floodgates opened. That was easy because we're connected emotionally. Our hearts are one. So that came really easy. And then I prayed and I thought, I need to somehow get this emotional reaction with the people that I feel have wronged me, or I need forgiveness. I need to forgive them. And so I prayed for that insight, and I started making lists in that same journal. I made a page for each person that I feel had hurt me or wronged me or hurt a loved one of mine, any kind of conflict, be it some were immense and some were just very trite, trivial, stupid little issues. And I just put their name at the top of the page. And I would try to find, at first I started out with 1 good thing about that person. And then the next day I would try and find 2 good things. Couldn't be something that was on the list. And then 3 good things. And I would go on and on and on and on. And I would compile lists of things that I was grateful for in that person. And then a funny thing started to happen. After a few weeks of compiling these lists, you realize what it does is, and some of it, when you first start, it's really hard. It's really hard to find a redeeming quality for someone that, you just have just cannot relate to, immense anger towards. So sometimes it's like so trivial and so materialistic is they have a really nice house, they keep a clean house, like, or they have really good hair, or like, but you will eventually take off a layer and take off a layer and go a little deeper. Maybe it's their children are really sweet and kind. Maybe it's that, you know, clearly they love their children, and it evolves to something more, you know, more fluid. It can start with, you know, their house is always clean and tidy. Okay, well, they take great pride in ownership. Okay, they are, you know, a very kind-hearted person, you know, like, and it evolves into something more. And what it teaches you to do is not excuse their behavior, but when you really look back from the start to the, and I would get like 50 things for these people, 50, 60, 70 things. I mean, huge lists of things that I appreciated in this person that had wronged me to the core of my being. You tend to, once the list is compiled, have a greater understanding and a sense as to why they reacted that way, why they called you that name, why they behaved in that manner. And eventually you realize, okay, well, I've reacted that way. I've behaved in that manner. I have done those same things. I have called people those same names. So it is somewhat hypocritical of me to judge them for behaving in a manner that I myself have done. And you may not have done it all. I mean, because I had some people that, you know, really hurt loved ones of mine. But you realize, okay, I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just trying to understand them. And I am choosing to forgive them, not for them, but for me. And it was like, after like a few months, I realized, honestly, Audra was right. They need love. I need love. We are all one. Forgiveness is about giving love. And it's really hard to give it to people that you really have been hurt by. But honestly, they're probably the ones that need it the most. And I also believe in karma. When you give love, it's what comes back on you. So, anyway, I hope that helped. It was kind of a gratitude/forgiveness journal, and it helped me move mountains. I was hanging on to resentments for, 40 years, some of them, and it really, really helped me transform into a way more loving place. And I also realized, taking A Course in Miracles, that you understand people more, and most of these emotions and most of the way that they reacted in a lot of these issues was a fear-based reaction, and we've all been guilty of that. So I can't judge them or crucify them for that. So anyway, I hope you find it in your heart to release and let go and forgive, and realize it's not helping you to hold on to those resentments. It's something that you are doing. If you do it for yourself. It has nothing to do, forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. In fact, I have forgiven people that literally I've written, after I went on this forgiveness journey, I wrote letters to all my loved ones and people that I feel, we had conflict with, and I just said, I love you. I love you. I love you. I forgive you. I've been on a spiritual journey, and I, forgive you, and I love you. And some of those people reacted with great love back and opened up the line of communication. And some people hated me even more. But I don't care, because that's their journey. That's their journey. They need to walk through it. So if they don't understand your forgiveness path, that's okay. It's your journey. But it's something that you need, and I'm not saying you have to write the letters. I felt the need to do that. And again, if you feel the need to do it, do it. It did open up some beautiful doors for me, and people came back into my life. Some people didn't. And you know what? I just realized, let go and let God. I'm not going to worry about it. If they were meant to come back into my life, God will push them in there. God wanted Audra back in my life, and he pushed her in there. So, don't worry or fret over it too much, but realize that forgiveness is something you do for yourself. It has nothing to do with the other person. Nothing. But once you realize and you get to the point of forgiveness and to loving that person that has harmed you or hurt you to the core of your being, you become very self-aware, and it is like all-encompassing and just an amazing, empowering feeling. And another thing about forgiveness that we need to kind of cover, you've worked through this path and you've forgiven others, you need to learn to forgive yourself. And that is probably the hardest thing to do. I thought forgiving others was really hard. No. My life coach, Audra, told me, you need to work on forgiving yourself. You've already worked past everyone else. You need to stop beating yourself up. You didn't know when you weren't enlightened, when you weren't on a spiritual path. Stop beating yourself up for how you reacted before you knew better. Now you know better. It's like trying to discipline a toddler for spilling their milk when they're 12 years old. There's no point in it. And that metaphor really helped me because I realized I have been beating myself up for how I reacted in the past before I got on my spiritual path. So stop doing that and learn to forgive yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. Love yourself. Again, it's so easy to say, but it's so much harder to put into practice. But once you take these steps, I really think that they will be transformational. And if you have any comments about your forgiveness regime, please share. I'd love to hear about it. And if anything in this video resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Have a fantastic day.